We often hear a distinction made between hard drugs and soft drugs, but what constitutes a hard drug? How do we define hard and soft when describing and categorizing drugs? It has to be the physical state of the drug, right? Where a crack rock is a hard drug and cocaine is a soft drug, right? It feels like you're telling me that, isn't it? Well, in this video, I'm going to scientifically break down the difference between hard and soft drugs so that by the end of this video, we both agree on the difference. That there isn't one. Hit the intro, A. What's going on, you beautiful degenerates? My name's Ashcon, aka Dropped Out Beats. I'm a trained addiction neuroscientist turned hip-hop producer, and today I'm here to teach you about how distinguishing between hard and soft drugs should be left in the 1900s because it's super uncool, unlike the beautiful music that you'll be hearing in the background of this video, made by yours truly, now available on all streaming platforms. Go check it out. Anyway, you often hear people distinguish between alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, and these days cannabis as the soft drugs, while drugs like amphetamines, cocaine, opiates, and psychedelics or hallucinogens qualify as the hard drugs. You may not realize it, but there's a serious issue in perpetuating these distinctions because it allows society to build the stupid systems like what we see with our current drug law scheduling in the United States. To qualify as a Schedule I drug that is seen as the worst of the worst and punishable by law with the most amount of criminal time, a drug must have a high abuse potential with no accepted medical use. However, it is widely accepted by the medical community that there is no medical use for alcohol and that alcohol is as addictive as many illegal drugs and quite frankly harder on your body than many illegal drugs if you end up developing a chemical dependency to it. So why then is it accepted and legal? Also, if you didn't know, alcohol withdrawal along with benzodiazepine withdrawal can kill you if you are severely physically dependent on either drug. So why then is alcohol one of the few legal recreational drugs we have in the Western world? I suspect this is largely because of the acceptance of alcohol in Christianity, but that is another topic for another video. Please hit the subscribe. I must now introduce a concept from psychology to you that is the operational definition. In psychology, the operational definition, according to Wikipedia, specifies concrete, replicable procedures designed to represent a construct. Let's look at a push-up, for example. When working with a fitness coach, they will make a clear distinction between what counts as a rep and what doesn't. Therefore, they have a good operational definition for a push-up. In the case of distinguishing between hard and soft drugs, we would need to be able to develop a good operational definition of both hard and soft. So let's go through this exercise now. Since we determined at the beginning of this video that the hard and soft does not in fact have anything to do with the physical state of the substance, let's propose a number of other possible operational definitions for the term hard and hard drugs, since the drugs that are seen as soft is relative to those that are seen as hard. Does the hard and hard drugs refer to the fact that these drugs are hard on your body? Well, I would be more willing to accept this argument if we all agreed then that alcohol met the criteria for a hard drug, considering the withdrawal can kill you in extreme states, and it is also widely accepted that alcohol use can lead to a number of conditions like cancer, organ damage, and psychiatric issues that I can guarantee would be hard to deal with. Hopefully you're appreciating my soft jabs at our culture's acceptance of alcohol while demonizing basically every other drug. This definition, however, is then convoluted by a drug like nicotine, where the route of administration greatly affects how hard the drug is on your body. For example, even the CDC recognizes that nicotine itself, let's say in the form of smokeless tobacco, does not cause cancer or lung disease the way smoking cigarettes does. Would that then mean that cigarettes are a hard drug while the nicotine patch is not? So then when discussing whether or not you use hard drugs, you aren't referring to the drug itself, but rather the way you get the drug into your body? Which then doesn't make any sense because that's not distinguishing between hard and soft drugs, but rather hard ways to get the drug into your body versus soft ways to get the drug into your body. And even saying hard ways to get the drug into your body doesn't actually describe the act of smoking a cigarette. After some coughing, you get used to it, and it's pretty easy to smoke a cigarette. Okay, so we now know that hard on your body isn't exactly a good definition for what constitutes a hard drug because of the route of administration can greatly affect how toxic a drug ends up being to your body, and that the most popular legal recreational drug meets the criteria for a hard drug according to this definition, yet no one who uses alcohol considers themselves a hard drug user. So what other definitions of hard drugs can we try? What about the drugs that are hard to quit are considered hard drugs, while the drugs that are relatively easy to stop using are seen as the soft drugs? Simple enough, right? Let me guess. You fell for it again, and now you see me drinking this cup of coffee and you're thinking to yourself, oh yeah, I guess coffee does contain caffeine, which is a drug that I consume basically every morning, and I don't think I want to quit my coffee drinking habit just because I'm consuming a drug all day. Now look, I have no problem with drinking coffee every morning. I drink caffeine all day. It's great for me. Now my wife does not drink coffee like that. She gets her caffeine through soda, which has much less caffeine relative to coffee or energy drinks, and if she did have a cup of coffee or an energy drink, she'd feel super anxious. So for that reason, it's easy for her to consume caffeine in moderate amounts. I say all of this to say, I'm sure it is easy for you to not use drugs on a regular basis that you may have used in the past, whether it be Adderall that you did to study in college, or when you got too drunk and threw up so much that you proceeded to say, I'm never drinking again, before the next weekend where you inevitably ended up just a little less drunk than you were the last weekend. Or perhaps an opiate you were prescribed after breaking a bone and using the drug according to the doctor's prescription and then not thinking about it when it ran out. After all, the pharmacology of a drug doesn't change in your body whether you're using it for medicinal or recreational reasons. The dose is the primary variable to control for safety and intoxication, which brings me to the scientific portion of this video essay. For those who have not taken a toxicology course, let's quickly review the first principle of toxicology. All substances are toxic. It is the dose that determines the toxicity. In other words, you consume too much of anything, it will become toxic. That means you can drink too much water, eat too much broccoli, and one day there might just be a weed smoker out there that determines how much weed is too much weed. Good luck to that person. But as you can see, toxicology agrees that the dose is in fact the single most important factor when taking a drug. Now the beautiful degenerates like Dr. David Nutt have been asking this question about hard and soft drugs long before I even became interested in neuroscience. While David is from the UK has a very similar drug scheduling system to the US, so his research is incredibly valuable when it comes to this discussion. So we are going to review a few graphs from his research that goes back as far as 2007 to illustrate my point that hard drugs don't exist. Let's first look at this fairly to easy understand graph from a paper David wrote back in 2007 titled Development of a Rational Scale to Assess the Harm of Drugs of Potential Misuse. All citations will be in the description of this YouTube video below. On the horizontal axis, or x-axis, we have the physical harm the drug can cause the user, while on the vertical, or y-axis, we have a measure of how addictive the drug is. As you can see, the drugs in yellow have the lowest physical harm to user score, as well as a low score for dependence, while the drugs in red have a high physical harm score and high dependence. As you can see, this graph doesn't exactly track well with what we labeled as hard and soft drugs at the beginning of this video, and certainly doesn't capture our current drug scheduling system where we can see cannabis, LSD, and ecstasy are all Schedule I substances, but rank low in this study. You can also see the placement of the legal drugs, alcohol, and nicotine in the form of tobacco as intermediate drugs, so to speak, while heroin and cocaine rank higher in both categories and are therefore marked in red. More recent research out of Germany in 2015 backs this data up. As you can see, alcohol is consistently ranked towards the top of the list of harmful drugs, rivaling the likes of heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine, Even the opioidergic analgesics, another word for painkillers, which include oxycodone and codeine, are ranked below alcohol, cannabis, and nicotine, which clearly shows the impact of our cultural ideas surrounding drugs and what we consider appropriate drug use, not to mention the fact that fentanyl is running rampant in our illegal drug supply, and one can only measure the harm of a drug to the actual drug they are known to be taking. Overall, I hope this has been a fun and informative video detailing why you shouldn't distinguish between hard and soft drugs. It really just isn't useful and does more harm than good because most of us drink alcohol and don't see ourselves as bad people for using a hard drug. Anyway, if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos discussing drugs in music and society. And if you like my music, please go check out my latest EP with Lamont the Saint titled One More Lick, featuring my favorite rappers, Lamont the Saint, Kyrie, Devon, Mr. Bishop, Marmar the Prophet, and Grionoy. Go run it up, you beautiful degenerates. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Peace out.
We would learn together and experience together how to reach the 5 levels of consciousness which are available to a species like ours.
Drop out, drop out, drop out.